A while back, I made a video about how borders make Minecraft servers fun. And since then, a lot of great servers have popped up with world borders. But every single one of those servers has made the same decision. They put spawn in the center. And it seems reasonable. It's equal distance from all the borders, and it kind of resembles the same feeling as spawning in an unbordered world. It's also just what every server does by default, but it's time to question, is centered spawn the best spawn point, or is there something better? And first off, what actually is the issue with spawn being in the center? The biggest issue is that it makes the world aimless. So when you first spawn in, every direction looks pretty equally valid. Often you pick a random direction, wander around, eventually realize you like nothing in this direction, and then you turn around and wander back and wander a different direction. And overall, rather than exploration or a journey, it, like I said a bunch, feels like wandering, which doesn't feel like a great experience. The second issue is that it really screws up the spatial hierarchy of the map. So for example, on a 10,000 by 10,000 world with spawn centered, you might consider the inner 1,000 blocks as near spawn, the inner 4,000 blocks as the wilderness, and the outer 1,000 blocks as the end of the world. And to really drive this point, let's focus on the outer 1,000 blocks, or the end of the world, which only takes 4,000 blocks to get to, which is really not much at all. And let's say you do that journey and you find nothing interesting because you chose the wrong way out of spawn, then you have to travel the entire width of the map to explore the opposite end of the world, which doesn't sound fun, especially because you're kind of backtracking what you already explored. So the hierarchy of the map is spread all around spawn in every single direction, and it's especially annoying that we have a 10,000 by 10,000 map, for example, and the max distance from spawn we can go is just 5,000 blocks. Following up on those points, the last annoying thing is that if someone tells you their base is 2,000 blocks from spawn, for example, that means nothing because it could be 2,000 blocks in any direction, and there are a bunch of different directions you can go from spawn. So distances on the map kind of lose meaning, and especially the distance from spawn really means nothing. So that's enough ranting about the issues with spawn being in the center. And maybe I'm overreacting, but I really did experience these issues, especially when I started on raid farms. I had immediately gone west, and the west side of the map is a combination of mangrove and desert, and pretty much nothing else because some idiot made the map large biomes. So my first few hours of play was basically just wandering around, trying to find a normal grassy biome. It wasn't fun at all, and I think the centered spawn point really played a role in that. So where should spawn be? There's a few creative ways to handle this. For example, I've seen arguments that spawn should be random for each player, and while this could fix some of the issues with centered spawn, it does take away the concept of a shared location where players can meet up for a trade and just general player interaction. Another option could be spawn itself being random or off-centered, but I think in most cases this would result in the same issues as a centered spawn, just slightly skewed. So our only other option is to maximize that skew, and in my opinion, the best solution is to put spawn on the edge of the map or even in the corner. This means that when you spawn in, it's pretty clear which direction to go in order to leave spawn, and as you leave spawn and explore the map, it feels more like a linear journey from spawn potentially to the end of the map rather than aimless wandering. It also really solidifies and maximizes the hierarchy of the map. So looking back on a 10,000 by 10,000 map with spawn in the center, we really only have 5,000 blocks from spawn in order to build this hierarchy. But on the other hand, with spawn on the edge of the map, we have 10,000 blocks to work with, meaning the far edge of the world is actually far. I think this more dramatic hierarchy could be used to create more interesting game mechanics, and it also gives players more unique ways to express themselves, whether it be how they define their journey or where they decide to set up a base. Additionally, these layers and hierarchy of the map can be used to create more common language and culture among the players, where going back to our previous example, in this case, when someone says they're 2,000 blocks from spawn, you have a better understanding of what that means and where that might be on the map. My last argument, mostly for fun, is that it's really just more realistic to spawn on the edge. For example, in real life, when people were exploring the globe and they took their boat and found some land, they didn't start in the center of that land. They started on the edge. And while Minecraft doesn't and probably shouldn't be realistic, I still think there's value in drawing from real world experiences and building an experience that aligns with our DNA. And overall, I think that's the best way to summarize centered spawn versus edge spawn. When spawn's in the center, it's confusing, unstructured, and results in wandering. But when spawn is on the edge, it creates direction, structure, and hierarchy, resulting in a journey and creating an experience. So if you're itching to experience an experience, perhaps check out my server Raid Farms, where wheat is the currency, and I recently moved spawn from the center to the edge and pissed everyone off. And lastly, if you're just here for the vibes, make sure you like the video and subscribe, but also, next time you're creating something, consider reconsidering everything. Even the small things like where players should spawn on a Minecraft server, because who knows, the implications might be huge, and it might just change everything.